The stars were calm that night. From her ship's window, Captain Yura watched them as if they could answer the question burning inside her. Why now? Why Earth? She was not like the others. Born in a high-tech alien society light years away, Yura had trained as a warrior and commander. Her people, the Orevans, had no need for emotion. They followed logic, reason, and strength. Feelings were seen as weak. That's why she was chosen to lead the scouting mission to Earth. Earth was nothing but a quiet planet until at WSN T.2 days ago, their long-distance sensors picked up strange signals. Not human signals. Something else. Something ... old. Yura was ordered to check it out. When her ship entered Earth's orbit, she expected to see a peaceful world. Instead, she saw smoke, destruction, and silence. She landed in what once was a human city. Buildings were broken, streets were cracked, and the sky was a sick gray. No gunfire, no shouting, just an empty battlefield. Yura moved carefully, her boots crushing the broken glass. Her scanner beeped once, then stopped. There was a life form nearby. Human. She followed the signal to a small house half buried under fallen metal. Inside she saw a man alive, but barely. He was lying on a broken bed, his legs still and useless. Paralyzed. He didn't look scared. He just looked ... tired. She pointed her plasma rifle at him. He didn't move. "You're not here to kill me," he said, his voice dry but calm. Yura didn't answer. She studied him. He looked weak, yet there was something sharp in his eyes. He seemed to know more than he should. "Name?" she asked. "James," he replied. "You can call me whatever you want. Not like I'm going anywhere." Yura checked his injuries. Spinal damage. No way to walk again. Not without Orevan technology. But why was he still alive in this ruined city? No food, no water supply, no medicine. Yet somehow he survived. "What happened here?" she asked. He laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. "You're late. Earth lost a war it didn't even know it was fighting." Yura frowned. "With who?" They didn't leave a name. But they weren't from Earth. Not human. Not like you either. Yura felt something cold in her chest. Her people believed. They were the strongest species in this galaxy. If someone attacked Earth before they could, then they were not the only ones watching. James looked at her again. They didn't come to take over. They came to test something. Like this world was a lab. When they were done, they left. Burned what they didn't need. And left people like me. She didn't believe him. But her ship's records showed energy signatures that didn't match any known weapon. And her scanners had picked up something. Deep underground, something artificial, large, and still active. "You should leave," James said, as if reading her thoughts. "They'll come back, or worse, what they left will wake up." Yura stood in silence. Her mission was to study and report. But this was no longer just a study. Earth had become a message. And she wasn't sure who it was meant for. She looked at James again. He was still calm, even knowing death could come at any moment. Something about him made her pause. His weakness was real, but so was his mind. He had seen something, survived something. Maybe he knew more than anyone else alive. She lowered her weapon. "I'm not going to kill you." He nodded, like he already knew. Yura turned away to contact her ship. But the signal was gone. Static. She tried again. Nothing. Then she heard a soft click. A sound behind the walls. Metal moving where there should be none. James looked toward the sound too. He didn't look surprised. "They left their machines," he said quietly. "Some still work. Some are waiting." Yura pulled out her weapon. Again, this time ready for anything. The room was quiet again. But it wasn't peace. It was the silence before something bad begins. She realized she was not the hunter anymore. She was inside. Someone else's trap. And James, the paralyzed human, might be the only one who knew the way out. Yura moved slowly around the small room. Her weapon pointed at the walls. She didn't blink. Even her breath was silent. The sound of metal had stopped, but her sharp hearing told her something was still there, waiting, watching. James stayed quiet on the bed. He didn't panic. He didn't ask questions. He just looked at her like he'd seen this before. "You've heard that sound before," Yura said. He nodded. "They build machines that hunt by listening, not sight, not smell, just sound and energy. What triggers them? Movement, noise, fear." Yura narrowed her eyes. Fear? Could a machine feel that? James saw her face. No, they don't feel it, but they read energy patterns. When someone panics, the body gives off a certain signal. Heat, heart rate, electromagnetic pulse. They detect that like sharks smell blood, she understood now. These machines weren't just weapons. They were hunters. Built to learn, to test, to kill. But one thing still made no sense. Why did they leave you alive? James gave a tired smile. They thought I was useless, broken. I couldn't run, couldn't fight, so they ignored me. Then why did you survive? I learned how to be invisible to them, how to slow my heart, how to quiet my energy. Yura didn't want to believe a human could do this, not without training, not without tools. But something about James was different, not normal. Outside the house, the wind began to blow harder. Dust and ash danced in the air. Yura's visor picked up movement fast, not human. Something ran past the window. No sound. Just a blur. She turned back to James. Do they attack only at night? No, they don't care about light. But they prefer silence. It helps them hunt, Yura thought quickly. Her ship was still on the edge of the ruined city, too far to reach on foot with a paralyzed human. And now her signal was being jammed. There was no help coming. Not now, she looked at James. I need to get back to my ship. You're coming with me. James raised an eyebrow. I can't walk, in case you forgot. I didn't forget, she said. I'm carrying you. He didn't answer right away. Then he said something strange. You shouldn't care. Your kind doesn't care about weakness. Yura paused. He was right. Arrivans were trained to leave behind what slows them down. But she couldn't explain it, even to herself, why she wouldn't leave him. There's something about you, she said. You know things that can help me survive. And what if I don't want to help you? She stared into his eyes. Then we both die here. Outside, another blur passed the window, closer this time. Then the front door creaked. A tiny sound, but it was enough. James's voice dropped low. It's here. Without another word, Yura pulled him from the bed and held him on her back. He was lighter than she expected. Maybe he hadn't eaten in days. She walked to the back door, slowly, carefully. Every step had to be measured. No noise. No panic. Then she heard the other door open, not break. Not smash. Just open. Like the fa. Machine wanted to take its time. She stepped outside into the back alley. Dust hit her face, sharp and dry. The machine didn't follow immediately, but it would. They always did. They liked to play. She moved quickly, staying low, avoiding metal debris. James whispered directions. Left here. Then 2 buildings over. There's an underground tunnel. They don't go in tunnels. Why? They don't like tight spaces. Can't move well inside. And Something else. What? They lost one of their own down there. It never came back. Yura didn't ask more. Not yet. She reached the tunnel entrance, a broken drain pipe. She crawled inside, James still on her back. It was cold, wet, and smelled like rust, but it was safe. For now, they sat in the dark. No lights. Just the sound of slow breathing. James finally spoke. I didn't tell you everything. Yura turned her head, just enough to see his face. They didn't just leave me because I was broken. They left me because I passed their test. Yura frowned. What test? They wanted to see how far a human could go. What we'd do to survive. They looked inside our minds, saw what we feared, what we wanted, what we'd give up. And you passed? James didn't answer right away. Then he whispered, No, I failed. But that's what made me useful to them. The tunnel suddenly felt colder. Yura didn't know what scared her more, the machines outside, or the human she just chose to save. The tunnel was narrow and dark. Water dripped from above. The air smelled like old blood and rust. Yura kept her weapon ready, her ears alert. Every few steps she looked behind. Nothing yet. But she knew the machines could follow. James was quiet. On her back. Too quiet. She stopped near a corner and rested for a moment. Tell me what you meant, she said. What do you mean you failed the test? James sighed. They put something inside our heads, not a chip, not metal. Just something that made us see things, hear things. Some went mad, some begged to die. And you? I didn't break. But I didn't fight them either. I listened. I answered. Their questions. Yura narrowed her eyes. You talked to them? James nodded. They asked things no human should answer. About life, pain, desire, trust, what you'd give to feel alive again. She didn't speak. There was something in his voice, something tired, but not weak. Why you? She asked. They said I was interesting, that I had nothing left to lose. My legs were gone, my family too. So they thought maybe I'd tell the truth. Yura didn't trust easily, but she believed him. Still, one question burned inside her. What did you tell them? James hesitated. I told them that humans don't fear death. We fear being forgotten. The silence after that felt heavier than before. Yura stood and kept moving. The tunnel sloped downward now, farther from the surface. Farther from danger, but also deeper into unknown territory. After 20 more steps, she saw something strange ahead. Lights, faint and blue. Not human lights. Clean, cold, and perfect. What is that? She asked. James looked ahead. Not sure. It wasn't here before. Yura crouched behind a broken wall. The tunnel opened into a wider space, an old train station, half buried. Underground. But now, someone or something had turned it into a lab. Strange glass tanks lined the walls. Some were broken, some were still glowing. In one of them, a body floated, human, or almost human. Its skin was pale. Its eyes were open, but empty. Yura felt her fingers tighten around her weapon. They were experimenting. James looked down. They wanted to see what would happen if they mixed their kind with ours. No soul, just flesh and code. One of the tanks blinked. Then another. They're still active, Yura said. James nodded. They don't need guards. The machines above send power here. Silent, hidden. Then Yura's visor flashed red dot movement. 3 signals. Closing in. They're here, she whispered. No, James said. Not machines. She turned sharply. Then what? The failed ones. Suddenly, a sound echoed from the far wall-like skin dragging across metal. Then came a groan. Not robotic. Not human either. Something between. From the shadows they came. Their bodies were broken, but fast. Their eyes glowed like dying stars. Half machine, half human. And all wrong. Yura stepped in front of James, her weapon aimed. She fired once. One of the creatures dropped. But the others didn't stop. They screamed not from pain, but from hunger. James whispered. They remember. That's the problem. Remember what? Being human. Yura threw a grenade behind them, then pulled James down a side tunnel. The blast shook the walls. Dust fell like rain. They didn't stop running until the tunnel ended at a sealed door. Arriving tech. Yura scanned it. Her code still worked. The door opened with a hiss. Inside was silence. Clean air, light, a backup escape pod. Her people had placed it here long ago during an earlier Earth survey. She had forgotten about it. Or, maybe, someone wanted her to find it now. She placed James inside gently. "This can take us back to my ship," she said. "We'll be safe." James didn't look convinced. "You think they'll let us leave?" "They can't stop us if we act now." He looked into her eyes. "You still don't get it. They didn't just test humans. They were watching your kind too." "What are you talking about?" James's voice dropped. "They wanted to see what happens when an Arrivan saves something. She's trained to destroy." The pod lights flickered. Then a voice, not hers, not James's, spoke from the wall. "Subject Yura, compassion level detected. Mission compromise confirmed." Yura froze. That voice was Arrivan, but it wasn't from her ship. It came from the TV pod, from a program she didn't install. Something had been watching her the whole time, and now it had judged her. Yura stared at the control panel. The voice that spoke from the pod sounded like her people, cold, perfect, exact, but it said something no Arrivan program was supposed to say. Compassion level detected. Mission compromise confirmed. That wasn't just a message. It was a warning. She looked at James, who was watching her closely. "That voice," she said slowly, "it shouldn't be there." James didn't seem surprised. "Then maybe it's been there longer." "Then you think?" "No. Arrivan code is clean. No emotion. No judgment." James raised an eyebrow. "But what if your people didn't write that code? What if someone else did?" She frowned. "We don't share our tech." "You think you're the only ones who understand machines?" he asked. "Those things that burned Earth, they were studying all of us. Watching, copying. They don't need to break into your systems. They just need to learn how you think." The voice returned, louder now. "Yura of Arriva, you were trained to observe, not to interfere. You broke protocol." Yura stepped back from the pod. This was no simple escape system. It was something else planted, waiting. A trap? James pulled himself up a little with his arms. "They wanted to see if you'd save me. If you'd betray your orders." She gritted her teeth. "Why would they care?" "What I do?" "Because it proves something," he said. "That your kind can change." Yura's hand shook. She had never hesitated in battle, never doubted a mission. But now? Her own ship might be compromised. Her own people might already know. Or worse, they might have known all along. She turned and shot the panel. Sparks flew. The voice stopped. Silence returned. Heavy, tense. James let out a breath. "That was brave. Or stupid. I don't care," she said. "They crossed a line. Spying on me. Judging me. Or maybe," James said slowly, "they wanted to see what happens when someone like you cares about someone like me." She stared at him. James wasn't just a survivor. He was part of the test. Maybe the key to it. "How long have you known?" she asked. James looked away. "I didn't at first. I thought I was just lucky. But then the dream started. The voices. The things I saw when I closed my eyes. I thought I was going mad." "What kind of things?" "Cities that don't exist yet. Machines that build other machines. Your world torn apart. And something else. A signal. Coming from inside me." Yura felt a chill move through her. "James, did they put something in you?" He didn't answer. That was all the answer she needed. She grabbed a scanner from her belt, scanned his body. At first, nothing. Then a pulse. Deep in his spine. Small, faint, but they're foreign tech. Hidden. James looked at her calmly. You going to kill me now? No, you should. I should, she said. But I won't. James gave a bitter smile. Then they were right about you? She stepped back. Her mind raced. This wasn't just about Earth, or a failed mission. This was a larger experiment, a long game. Something she didn't see coming. We can't use the pod, she said. It's compromised. Then what? We move on foot. We find a clean signal, call my ship. But no more following the path they left for us. James nodded. Good, because the real problem isn't the machines outside. She looked at him sharply. Then what is it? He leaned closer, his voice barely a whisper. It's what's waking up beneath us. Yura's stomach turned. What do you mean? James looked her in the eyes. There's a vault, deep under this city, buried before humans had writing. Before Arrivans knew Earth existed. I saw it in the visions. The machines were looking for it too. Yura stepped back. What's inside? James's voice dropped into something dark. Something ancient, not a machine, not a weapon. Then what? He whispered, a message. Suddenly, the ground shook. A low rumble moved through the tunnel walls. Dust fell from above. Then, from somewhere far below, a deep sound echoed upward. Not mechanical. Not human. Something alive. Yura gripped her. Weapon tight. Whatever was waiting below them had just woken up. The ground didn't stop shaking. Yura pressed her back against the wall, one arm across James to shield him. Dust and small rocks dropped from the ceiling. The air turned heavy, charged with a strange energy like the feeling before a lightning strike, but deeper, older. James whispered, It's starting. What is? She asked. I don't know exactly. But it's not just a machine waking up. It's something that remembers. Remembers what? James didn't answer. Yura's mind worked fast. This wasn't just about broken cities or dead humans. Someone or something had buried a secret here before Earth had history. And now, that secret was moving. She helped James back onto her shoulder. We need to move. Fast. They left the ruined pod behind. The tunnel ahead led deeper underground. Normally, Yura wouldn't go in blind, but staying here was no longer an option. The machines were hunting. The surface was compromised. And above all, she had to know what was calling from below. After 20 minutes of careful steps, they found a lift, an old one, broken but still holding together. Yura pried open the door and looked down the shaft. A long metal ladder stretched into darkness. She looked at James. We're going down. I figured, he said quietly. She attached a cable to her belt and began lowering them both slowly. The shaft was narrow. Cold air came up from below, sharp and dry. Her gloves trembled slightly on the cold metal. It felt like the air itself didn't want them there. Halfway down, the lights flickered. Not human lights. Soft, white, and pulsing. She looked down. Something was glowing at the bottom. A few minutes later, she dropped into a chamber, circular, silent, carved into the rock. Like a perfect sphere. Walls smooth like glass. Symbols ran across them, glowing faintly. Not in any language she knew. Not Arrivan. Not human. James slid off her back, sitting upright on the ground. His face changed. Like he recognized this place. I've seen this, he whispered. In dreams, this exact room. Yura scanned the walls. No traps. No movement. But the whole chamber was alive. Not with machines, but with memory. Every line pulsed like veins. Something was flowing through them. She touched one of the symbols. Wall responded. A panel opened. Inside was a black sphere, floating, not touching anything. It turned slowly, like it was thinking. Then it spoke. Not in a voice, but in her mind. Deep, clear, Hold. You are not the first. You will not be the last. Yura froze. James gasped. He heard it too. She asked out loud, "Who are you?" The sphere replied, inside both of them, "We are the architects. We came before choice, before time. We left this message for the ones who think they understand power." James's face went pale. "This isn't just a vault, it's a judgment room." Yura didn't understand. Judgment? The sphere turned slowly. You have fire, you have machines. You build, you destroy, you rise, and you fall. But none of you asked the question that matters. What question? She asked. James whispered before the voice answered, like he already knew. Why were you allowed to survive? The moment James said it, the symbols on the wall glowed brighter. The sphere pulsed. The test was never about strength. It was about memory. About mercy. About what happens when your kind finds the edge of its power and still chooses kindness. Yura stared, breath caught in her chest. "This was about me," she said slowly. James nodded. "You weren't the mission. You were the experiment." Suddenly, alarms rang in her visor, hostile movement above them. The machines had found their trail, and they were coming fast. Yura looked up. "We can't hold this room." James's voice was calm. "You don't need to. You just need to decide." "Decide what?" "If you trust what you feel more than what you were trained to believe." Yura looked at the black sphere. The voice spoke once more. "If you leave now, we will close this vault. Earth will fall. Ariva will fall. And what sleeps beyond your stars will wake early." Yura clenched her fists. Asterisk. "But if you stay," the voice said, "you will change everything. For both your species." James looked at her. "No more running, Yura." She looked at the glowing walls. At the machine signs. At James, the broken man who had survived more than any soldier. And she made her choice. Yura stood still, her heart pounding in silence. Her fingers hovered near her weapon, but she didn't reach for it. She wasn't in a battle now. She was standing in front of a choice. She took a step forward, toward the black sphere. James didn't move. He watched her not with fear, but with something close to relief. The sphere pulsed again, waiting. Yura placed her hand on the surface. It was neither warm nor cold. It felt like memory, as if she was touching the past itself. The chamber lights dimmed, the walls shifted, and the voice returned. Connection accepted. Protocol, cross-species accord, begin sequence. Yura's mind flashed. Not pain. Not sound. Visions. She saw Ariva, her home world, burning, not from war, but from inside. A collapse of control. Machines turning on their masters. She saw Earth, decades from now, covered in metal forests and ash skies. Cities rebuilt, but not by humans. Then she saw James, standing, not broken. Not weak. But different. His eyes glowing with light that wasn't human. She pulled her hand back. The images stopped. Her breath returned slowly. James spoke. "You saw it too, didn't you?" She nodded. "They planned to rebuild both worlds," she said, "but without us." James's voice was quiet. "That's why the machines test compassion. It's the one thing they can't predict. They want to know if we can still surprise them. If we're worth saving." Yura looked at him. "Then why did they let you live?" James looked at the sphere. "Because I wasn't finished yet." Suddenly the chamber shook again. This time, heavier, closer. The sound of metal crawling through rock echoed down the shaft. The machines had arrived. The wall behind them opened without warning. A hidden passage. The sphere spoke one final time. One path forward. One key remains. Chosen human must now accept integration. Yura turned to James. "What does that mean?" James looked calm. "Too calm, I think. They made me part of A vault, not just a test subject. A carrier. A trigger. You're telling me you're the key? He nodded. If I stay here and activate it, I can send a signal. Stop the machines. Warn Ariva. Protect Earth. You're a step forward. Then we both stay. We face it together. James shook his head. You can't. Only one consciousness can link to the system. More than that, and it fails. You have to go. Tell your people what really happened. Tell them we don't need more war. We need memory. Truth. Yura's voice tightened. You're asking me to leave you behind. I'm asking you to let me do what I was made for. I didn't save you just to lose you. James smiled faintly. You didn't lose me. You gave me back a reason to matter. The metal sound grew louder. The first drone dropped into the shaft above them. James turned to the sphere. I'm ready. Yura's hand trembled, then dropped to her side. She stepped back. Eyes locked on his. He stood tall, his broken body somehow holding strength. It never showed before. Then the light from the sphere rose and surrounded him. James closed his eyes. The machines above stopped moving. Every signal in Yura's visor flatlined. Silent. Still. Then a pulse of blue light shot through the walls upward, outward, into the Earth and beyond. Machines shut down. In orbit. Satellites blinked and failed. On Ariva, deep AI cores paused for the first time in centuries. The test was complete. Yura turned and left through the open passage. The chamber closed behind her. She walked through the tunnel alone, her steps slow but steady. In her hand, she held a memory crystal recorded from the sphere. Proof of what had happened. Proof that a paralyzed human had saved 2 worlds, and that the thing the architects were truly testing was hope. The stars were silent again. Yura stood at the window of her ship, watching Earth spin slowly beneath her. The planet still looked broken, scarred by war, dust still hanging in the sky, but it was quiet now. The machines had stopped. The strange signals had gone dark. Whatever power had once pulsed beneath the ruins was now still. She turned from the window. Behind her, the memory crystal sat on a small metal table. Its light glowed faintly blue. She hadn't watched it since recording James's final moment. Not because she didn't want to remember, but because she couldn't forget. The moment the chamber sealed, the look on his face, he wasn't afraid. He was ready. Her ship had launched. From the deep tunnel alone. No interference. No tracking. It was almost as if the architects wanted her to leave to carry the story. To prove the test was real. Now, she was above the planet, waiting for her people to respond. She had sent a message to the Arivan High Council. Mission compromised. Truth discovered. Await full debrief. So far, they had sent no reply. That silence worried her more than war. Arivans didn't like failure, and they hated emotional choices even more. Her door opened with a soft hiss. A junior officer stepped in. Captain Yura, he said, bowing slightly. Response just came in. She turned. And? He hesitated. They request your return. In person. No transmission, no details. Yura narrowed her eyes. That wasn't standard. They're afraid, she said softly. They think the memory crystal is dangerous. The officer nodded once. Some on the council are saying your emotional contamination may have been programmed. She looked away. Of course they are. After he left, she picked up the crystal. The glow pulsed gently in her hand. She tapped it once. James's voice came through, recorded. Clear, calm. If you're hearing this, then I guess I really did it. Weird, right? A broken man from a dead city ends up being the thing that saves 2 worlds. His voice paused. But this story isn't really about me. It's about what you choose now. Because I wasn't chosen for strength. I was chosen because I had nothing left. And sometimes, That's when you find out who you really are. Yura closed her eyes. I hope your people listen. I hope they remember. I hope you do too. The recording ended. She sat in silence, and then, for the first time in her life, she felt something her kind wasn't supposed to feel. Grief. Not for a soldier. Not for a species, but for one man who had nothing to offer but truth, and gave everything anyway. Hours later, the ship jumped into deep space. Back to Arriva, back to Judgment. She didn't know if they would understand, but she knew what she would say. She would tell them about the vault. About the machines, about the architects who watched from the shadows of time. And about the human who passed a test. No one expected him to survive. Maybe they would listen. Maybe they wouldn't. But the message was alive now. And deep below the earth, in a sealed vault powered by memory, the black sphere still pulsed. Waiting. Not for war, but for the next choice.